there's so much great talent in our party. Give these people the opportunity to sit in policy units and become part of creating our new policy.
We caught word of something like this happening back in February in Crawley. This is good. This is actually some nice detail, because I have heard other candidates say that they want to foster the grassroots and similar kinds of things, but I've not heard any detail yet.
Energizing the branches by giving them the authority to find these ideas and these people and to push them up the system. You therefore want to make sure that every minute of people's time is valuable, is impactful, and not wasted. I think most of the public want common sense answers to the problems that we have in society. Well,
The price paid has been paid 1,000 times over and far too high.
reformers are conviction politicians. We know what we believe in, we stand for it, and we will not be waylaid.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Charters. I am the branch chair for Crawley for Reform UK. I have been invited to Richard Barker's home to interview him. And Richard Barker, thank you very much for having me.
Well, Tim, it's absolutely delightful to have you here, and thank you so much for the kind offer to do the interview.
Oh, you're very welcome. Who are you? Why am I here?
Well, that's a good question. And so, Richard Barker, born in Hastings, how many years ago? Gosh, back in the 60s.
That old.
In a different world. Different world.
Yeah.
I guess a passion for the natural world started quite young. Lived by the sea. Used to go fishing with my brother in our boat. And went to the local grammar school, which became comprehensive while I was there, and that was an interesting one. And went to university at Newcastle University, to get away from the parents.
Yeah.
As one does like to do when one's young. And studied geology. Again, it was very much to do with my passion for how the world works and Earth's processes and what makes everything that we see. And actually, when I left university, the main jobs available actually with a geology degree were either in mining or in oil and gas. And at the time, it was in the late 80s, a bit of a downturn in the oil industry. I thought, no, I want to go into banking. You know, I was a bit of a product of the Thatcherite era, and very much wanted to have that mobile phone, and
the big symbol, brick with the
brick with the
very good, yeah.
Those wonderful symbols of the 1980s. And I actually tried a number of different things. I went into a chartered accountancy, tried my hand at that, didn't like it, so I didn't even finish the qualifications. But eventually, the oil industry picked up, and that was kind of what I was interested in, really. And so at the age of 24, I got into the oil industry, and applied to Shell UK, and kind of the rest for me is history. Anyway, I mean, I literally spent 30 years then in an industry, we're helping to power the nation. And
so your thoughts on net zero are positive.
Yeah. It's almost a swear word in this house, actually.
I can imagine. But what about reform? When did you join reform? What's your journey been in the party so far?
So when I basically retired from the oil industry in 2020 during the pandemic, during the downturn. And it was a really tough time. In fact, oil prices in the US were negative, and there were layoffs everywhere, particularly the more senior people. So I looked for something else to give me purpose. I've been interested in politics for a long time. And I started looking at the Conservative Party, which was my natural roots.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say as the late teens and obviously the pandemic and 2020 unfolded, I became very concerned actually with the direction of the Conservative Party. I had been hoping for a long time they would ditch the net zero thing, but actually Boris Johnson put it on steroids. And with the Saudi Arabia of wind concept and so much focus on net zero, so I became very concerned and started to looking for alternatives. And I didn't even know there was one. And then, quite frankly, it was Richard Tice and his videos, and I started watching some of his stuff on YouTube, and started to hear about reform. They were polling at around 2 or 3%, and I thought, yeah, but there's common sense here.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
guys are speaking common sense. This is literally what we should be doing. And that was during 2022, and by late 2022, I applied to be a candidate for the party. And in early 2023 was accepted. So delighted to have been accepted as a parliamentary candidate by mid 2023 and eventually stood for Parliament
Yeah, yeah, in
in
the
the
same election
constituency of
we did.
Woking.
Very good.
Absolutely,
Woking.
yeah, constituency of Woking, and straight out there, 10.2% from a standing start, which actually I was pretty pleased with, if I'm honest.
Mm,
And the Tories got a real kicking,
yeah,
and the Liberal Democrats took it, but it put us on the map. Um,
very good. And you've been
yeah.
branch chair ever since?
I've been branch chair since September last year,
Okay.
so coming on to a year.
Yep.
And in fact, one of the things we're quite a close knit group across Surrey. So one of the things that we meet regularly, our Surrey chairs. We see things very similarly. We're a strong support network.
Well, that brings me nicely into why you want to run for the board. So there are 3 elected positions coming, and there are 19 candidates. What are you offering?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is such an important question. What's ultimately, I think, it's about the vision. It's about
Mm,
what is my vision for what the board,
yep.
what I could achieve on the board, um, and ultimately there's so much great talent in our party.
Yes.
We've got experience, knowledge, and talented people. But at the moment, there's no mechanism to bring either their ideas into the party and funnel them upwards
Yep.
so that they can become part of policy or even just be considered to be part of policy. Or actually give these people the opportunity to sit in policy units and become part of creating our new policy.
I'll
So,
tell you what,
you know,
there's also sources of information down on the ground which is impossible for somebody at the top of any organization to be able to get. I'll give you an example. The Afghan resettlement scheme that's just been through the news. We caught word of something like this happening back in February in Crawley. My campaign coordinator, Francis, he was looking for jobs and he found a whole bunch of jobs for people that could speak Afghan. I can't remember the language, but it says to dealing with Afghan people to be resettled
mm,
in housing in a sudden rush.
yeah,
And we found a whole load of job postings about it. And we sent it to HQ back in February, but we didn't get a response.
yeah,
This is part of the problem. We had intel that something new was coming,
yeah.
but you know, we weren't heard.
Again, yes, and that is a symptom of what we experience, I think, across the country in terms of branches, is how I mean, I receive many emails from people say, I've got this great idea for policing. I've worked in policing
Mm,
all my career, and we should be going in this direction. And rather than respond and say, I've got nowhere to take this at the moment.
yeah,
I want to be able to say, okay, I want to be able to assess it at branch level, maybe with the rest of my committee, and decide whether this is either a great idea, or this person has fantastic experience or knowledge,
or
that
perhaps
can,
not as
or
well.
perhaps not,
There has to be
but is
filtering.
simply talented,
Yeah,
or has the right talent or not. So that that idea has to be measured and then filtered up through the various layers of the structure. So the
yeah,
idea comes in the bottom, and you basically have a pyramid structure of filtering. So the ideas are filtered, or the I would almost say the CVs of the people, the experts are sort of
yeah.
filtered.
Go to the next
And
stage.
so you go to the next stage, and ultimately you come to a decision review board, if you like, in the sort of center of the triangle. And if those people, if those ideas or the expertise these people have to offer is really aligned with the ideology of the party and the strategic direction that leadership is setting, then
So you've
there
got the meat.
you've got absolutely. So you create the
Yeah.
funnel, you have those policy centers in place across all departments of government,
Mm.
whether it's health, defense, policing, and home office, education, and either the ideas or those individuals, that is wonderfully talented, experienced individuals, can get focused into those departments. But they have been filtered through from the bottom. And what it takes to basically create that filtering process is you need to delegate a bit more trust and authority to the branch level to have a say in that filtering system.
Yeah. This is good. This is
Yeah.
actually some nice detail, because I have heard other candidates say that they want to foster the grassroots and similar kinds of things, but I've not heard any detail yet.
Yes.
Have you built this kind of thing before?
Funny you should ask.
Well,
Well, I would say the last 10 years of my career was very much about improving organizational effectiveness. And this is really to transform an organization, you have to properly connect the brain, the leadership, to the fingertips.
right. Okay.
And the way to do that,
That's two-way as well, isn't it?
it's definitely two-way. So the
Yeah.
brain has got to give directions to the fingertips, but the brain has got to be able to feel what the fingertips are sensing,
Yeah.
so that it can then react to the external environment.
Yep.
This is literally what agility is about. You create an agile business, and you do that by giving authority as well to the lower echelons of the business, so that they can respond. They have the authority to respond quickly to local events, and you keep the big decisions at the top. Of course, you do.
Yeah.
But you enable the fingertips to have that authority, and it's incredibly motivating, by the way.
Yeah, I can
can't
imagine.
emphasize
Yeah,
this enough.
because your impact
You know,
on the ground level is real. You get
It's
to experience, and you
real.
also get communication to direct. This is
Absolutely.
something that sometimes can feel a little bit having to self-direct all of the time.
Absolutely.
And yes, we've got lots of experience around us. We can seek each other for advice, but every now and again, it would be nice to get a Crawley. That's my branch. You're doing well. What we need for you to do to win the next elections is this, this, this. Can you prepare?
Yes,
I
exactly.
would love to hear that. That would
Yeah,
be fantastic.
And it's literally energizing. You're
Yeah.
energizing the branches by giving them the authority to find these ideas and these people and to push them up the system, so that you might suddenly find that there's policy statements coming out a few months later that came from your branch, from someone in
Yeah.
your branch, and they will feel, hey, I can now make an impact on my future. This party is listening. This party, which will become the party of government, it is literally listening to those ideas from the grassroots.
Yeah.
And suddenly people will feel they are heard. That's what it's about.
Very good. Now, money matters. Tories and Labour both are massively overfunded compared to us. Would such a structure be particularly expensive, do you think? I mean, we also have to worry about that when we're running a party, and you'd be on the board, and thus it would be partly your responsibility where that all goes.
Well, interesting actually that creating structure doesn't cost a whole lot of money, because what you're really doing, and this is where it's the danger. People switch off when they hear the phrase governance structure, but that is what you're literally creating a structure of roles and responsibilities that are transparent within the organization. And that doesn't of itself cost money. It is simply agreeing who is responsible for what and at what level. Where the money comes in is then providing the tools to be able to then affect what needs to be affected. So at the moment, branches probably need more tools to communicate with their constituents. There's no doubt about that. But actually, the overall structure is not expensive to build at all.
Okay. And I guess mostly it's manned by volunteers.
Indeed.
Branch chairs, volunteers, the party appointed county organisers, they are volunteers as well.
Absolutely.
So there is already a structure that could reflect this.
Yeah.
But,
And
see what the workload is, though, I suppose.
Well, people like to know what their role is. They also like to know what it isn't.
No, well, yes.
And that actually,
I've had that problem. So to do everything sometimes.
and it needs to be transparent to all who is responsible for what, and when that's affected into the structure and the hierarchy, it becomes very powerful.
Hmm.
And I know some people say, "Oh, yeah, but it's a political party; it's not an organization; it's not a business." But actually, there's huge overlaps
Oh,
between
there's
how you need to run the two.
course. Like a
And
business needs to be streamlined and
yeah,
effective in order to make money and not waste money at the very
totally,
start.
yeah,
Political party, yeah, sure, we're not making money, but we're certainly not going to be wasting money. In fact,
exactly,
that's kind of a big part of the point of this party.
precisely.
How much money has been
It, it
wasted across the
it
country? We
literally
can't do
needs
this.
to demonstrate how an organization should run.
Yeah.
We are about, if we're going to lead by
Oh,
example.
yeah.
you know,
Very much.
no, I totally. I think the key thing is most people in this party are volunteers. They're giving their time willingly because they want to make a difference. You therefore want to make sure that every minute of people's time is valuable, is impactful, and not wasted. And we have a responsibility actually in our party
Hmm.
to ensure that we're structured efficiently and effectively so that we don't waste any of our people's time.
Yep.
You know.
Very good. Right, I've got a few questions which I've written down. I think we might have covered a big chunk of it just through this nice chat,
Sure.
but I'm going to fire them anyway
Go
and see
for it.
what else comes out.
Go for it, Tim.
So, what do you think the branches wants to see from their board?
Well, so as a branch chair myself, and
Yeah.
as someone who works very closely with all the 12 chairs across Surrey, and also with others like yourself, Tim, and chair of Crawley, um, the first thing that screams into our heads is communication. It's that upward downward communication. So if there are issues, we know where to go. Whether if it's an IT issue, there's clear channels and clear resources to have them impacted as soon as possible. It's very important for an organization to have the sufficient capability and capacity.
Sure. Now, I imagine everyone's saying this.
Okay,
Well,
you want detail, don't you?
yes.
Well,
How to do it? How do you fix it?
for example, I'm just going to give one example. So we have a database for members, where members join up. But we have there's an issue on sign up, for example, where if you don't click the opt-in button, as under GDPR rules, you have to basically motivate someone to opt in to receiving emails. But unfortunately, it's a very grey, it's not very clear process. It's not a very clear button, and most people don't see it. And so therefore, we're actually disengaged with probably, well, a very significant proportion of our members do not receive our communications from branch level.
I will also say that
Um,
there is a technical glitch in there as well.
yeah. So, but that is an example of something which needs to be fixed. We've come up with
Yep.
some workarounds, but it took too long.
Hmm.
It took 5-6 months from when it was first
Yeah.
proposed. So it's that's maybe the first thing from a technology perspective. And from a people perspective, again, I know I come back to it, but it's so important. It's people feeling heard. So when they come to us in our branches, we can literally take their ideas and put them
I
and expertise and
get
filter it out.
that, but I think I'm somewhat assuming that one of the key problems of why we in branches are not getting much in the way of responses from HQ is probably volume and capacity to handle it.
That's right.
I had heard that there is an email address for reform, info@reformuk.com, that gets well over 1,000 emails a day. It is just impossible to
Yes.
monitor. There, you can't hire enough staff to monitor it.
Yeah.
It's unmanageable.
So,
So what do we do?
well, first of all, I think we need to be fair to ourselves as a party and recognize that we're like a startup company.
Yeah.
We're a startup company that's grown incredibly fast. Our membership rocketed, particularly over the Christmas period, 6 months, 7 months ago into New Year. Membership rocketed by over 100,000 in a very short space of time. We are effectively an immature organization that is now, but it's like a teenager now, and it's experiencing all the growing pains of an organization that is growing very fast. It's a huge opportunity for the party, but you're always in catch-up mode. You're always in catch-up mode because your resources are always trying to catch up with your need.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're probably what I would say is sort of still at level one in terms of maturity, and we need to get to about a level three of maturity about a year before the general election, where you
I am
have
vaguely
basically, and I just
okay.
want to let me finish this because
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is very important. Which is where you have most of your processes are mapped out. You've got the right technologies, you've got the right people in terms of resources, you've got the capability and capacity to support the system. People know what their roles are, and can deliver our core business, which is really getting our message out to voters.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
um, and that will take a few years to get there, but we have time as long as we get onto it quickly.
Right. Okay. Well, first thing then, I'll say, as a branch chair talking to a prospective board member, um, some of those communications you've got to automate. You've got to automate, and there are all sorts of tools like AI tools which can manage inboxes. You could train one so that it at first can file it into various places in order to be delivered to the correct people. Please help me change my postal address. And then eventually you could even get the AI to action the email itself. But of
Yeah,
course, if you did an analysis on all of the communications that are coming in and you find that a lot of people are trying to change their postal address because they've now moved branches, they want the email invites from their local branch, whatever it might happen to be, then provide the tool for them to update their address themselves
yes,
because you currently can't.
yes,
This kind of thing, I know I'm talking to you from a programmer's point of view because I'm a programmer,
but
but
yeah,
it's distributing that work as well, down towards the
I think the
fingertip.
fundamental thing I would say to that, Tim, is I don't have all the answers, but I know they're out there. The
Yeah,
most
yeah, for
important
sure.
thing is that the board listens.
This is the thing.
It's
I could
simply
give my
about
advice.
listening. You can give it, but
Yeah.
but we just need to create a mechanism that enables the listening
Yes.
to the great ideas and the great people who can actually become part of our IT system.
This is a demonstration,
I
actually.
literally know
Mm.
people, even such as yourself, with superb IT skills, who are offered their time to the party for free, but we're not being able to get a response in terms of getting them heard and
Yeah.
in place.
Okay.
So I think
Very good.
that is
Yeah.
part of the resource to tap,
Mm.
is to help us to
That's good.
you know
All right, so my next question for you, what do you think the members want to see? I feel like we might have covered a lot of this just in that last bit,
yeah,
but
well,
is there anything else in addition? If not, that's fine.
I think ultimately members want to know they can make a difference.
Okay.
They want to know that their voice is heard, and that means, if they have concerns about maybe some statements that are coming out at the top that they, which they may disagree with strongly, that at least their opinion and view
Their objection
count.
is heard
And
too.
even
Yeah.
even if it's of course leadership can make it absolutely clear that this is where we are. The Overton window places our responses and our this is how we will promote our message. But members really want to know that they're heard, and have some sort of mechanism for knowing that it has
Yes, and
happened.
perhaps have faith if things aren't exactly as they want them to be, it is still very good. Perhaps it is heading in that direction.
Indeed.
This kind of thing. Yeah, the third one I had is what do you think that the public want to see? So it's not even our members, it's not our branches, it's people who aren't members. What do they want to see from reform? And I'm not talking about the full-on woke, hyper socialist people that are never going to be on board. I'm
Yeah.
thinking people that could
Yes.
be.
Yes. Um, Essentially, I think most of the public want common sense answers to the problems that we have in society. Um, Reform just needs to keep the messaging consistent,
Mm.
and clear on those common sense solutions to our everyday problems that largely have been manufactured
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the
yeah.
existing uniparty, if you like to call it
Mm.
that. Um, I think also there's a huge opportunity, and this is something that a number of people have said to me, in terms of um, demonstrating that actually we are the most environmentally friendly party. We're the ones that are not trying to pretend that covering the land in wind turbines is good for the planet.
Yeah.
It is simply not.
No.
You're creating a landfill headache.
Yes.
The energy footprint just to build these turbines is huge.
You wreck the ground
You
that they're
wreck the
placed on.
ground. They're bird mincing, and the numbers are just not published. No, the media will not tell you the environmental damage that these things do,
Mm.
and of course also the fact that
They're shipped from the other side of the
they're shipped from
planet.
the other side, so there's no jobs in it for us. And the entire energy system that's renewable has to be backed up by what's called dispatchable energy. So that's either nuclear power or gas turbine power, which can just be switched on and off to meet demand. Because literally, that's what you have to do. Every instant, the national grid has to balance supply and demand at the right frequency, at 50 hertz.
Yeah.
So we have to pay now for two systems,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
why our electricity is some of the most expensive in the world.
It's interesting that you mentioned this, along with everything you've been talking about previously, where you speak to your talent and make sure that they're heard. There's a gentleman in my branch who's worked in the oil and gas industry, and he knows a lot about smelting and all sorts. And he was explaining to me a little bit about this and how the energy grid that we have literally cannot cope with this type of energy. It needed to be upgraded first.
Yes.
Because that's why we have to turn off the wind turbines, because otherwise things might blow up.
Yeah.
And how serious it is and how clueless our government and the last one are.
Yes.
Um,
Indeed.
So yeah, but yes, common sense policies, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
And that will make a real difference to their everyday lives. So we're talking about what the Gin Republic is
Yes.
looking for. And a different answer to the one they've been given for the last 20 years. And that's, a different answer to illegal immigration, to the legal immigration numbers, how we protect our culture, which is, increasingly under threat. What does it mean to be British anymore? And so I think Nigel describes it as not only economic decline that we're in, but the societal decline.
Yes.
How do we break this? How do we break this doom loop?
Mm.
This ever increasing taxation, which all it does is demotivate people from working. People want to feel that it's worth getting up in the morning and going to work, because they're not just simply feeding an ever expanding state
And being
that
a
simply
member
wants to take their money and actually expand the state even more, creating more regulations to control us. We didn't ask for this,
Yeah.
and it's taking away our freedoms, and it's taking away our liberty. And I think it was Ronald Reagan who came out with that classic. It was a wonderful speech, but it ended with, as the state expands, liberty contracts.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just nailed it.
Very
with
good.
that. Yeah.
I think you've essentially said it, but the words that I might use is I think that a lot of the public, and some of our members too, they really want to see strength, because we've had so much weakness and betrayal over the last couple of decades.
Yes.
That they want to see something strong that is going to stick up for them and defend our country and our culture, our way of life, and of course with common sense and not without compassion too. We're not talking about being monsters or anything.
Yes.
But can't be pushovers. When someone comes along and says, oh no, you have to allow people to come across the channel no matter what crimes they commit, they want someone to say, no, we don't, actually. And if some international law says that we absolutely must, then we need to look at getting out of that international law. Not just,
No. Well,
the price paid has been paid 1,000 times over and far too high.
reformers are conviction politicians.
Mm.
We know what we believe in, we stand for it, and we will not be waylaid. We're not in it for a career. I've had my career. I'm here simply to help save my country, and to save the people in it, quite frankly. And I can tell you, I was at the candidates conference in 2023. I think it was October or November 2023, where we had 400 reform candidates in the room. And I can say, you have never seen so many committed, passionate, professional individuals determined to make a difference, not in it for their careers at all. This was simply about wanting to protect their family and their country.
Yes.
And this party is the tool to do that.
Yes.
And the Tories and have always been proud of the fact that they're a broad church. They call themselves a broad church, which means that, quite frankly, if you believe in everything, you don't believe in anything.
That's right.
Whereas we are a narrow church, I reckon probably, uh, you know, I would say in that room of candidates, I reckon 80% of what we believed in was the same, maybe even more.
Mm.
And we have clear direction. And that makes us very, very powerful.
Yes.
When it comes to voting in Parliament, this will be a very, very strong force.
Yeah.
It will balk at nothing. It will take out. I mean, international law doesn't really even exist. Actually, a sovereign nation, which we are still. Thank you, Brexit. We are still a sovereign nation. So when you vote in a general election, you vote for a parliament and vote for a people in parliament. You literally give them your bit of sovereignty, and then you give parliament sovereignty to navigate our position and role in the world. And that means our government, which sits in parliament, uh, has the authority to make treaties and break treaties. Those are the international laws, if you like. But they're not really law. There's no supranational court except ones that have popped up and decided they're going to seize these powers.
Yep.
But literally, they sprung out of. They were created by Britain and the US initially, and other countries to help create peace in the world, essentially. But they now want to control those very countries that gave birth to them.
Yeah.
And a sovereign nation, no. You literally, if you don't like a treaty, the ECHR, for example, which is so often used by human rights lawyers to stop us from taking illegal immigrants out of the country or those that mean us harm, that's got to go. We've won.
Yeah.
It's just gone. It's gone. So yeah, and I think that's what the public wants to see.
Yes.
It wants to see, and this is the fundamental part. It wants to see a party that represents the needs of the British people,
Yeah.
and not the needs of a globalist, authoritarian agenda, which is being progressively forced on this country.
Yeah. Completely agree. All right. Next ones. What are your thoughts on the new parties and movements that are rising? So there's Advance UK by Ben Habib, there's Restore Britain, which is Rupert Lau's movement, and then there is your party, not entirely named, certainly, I don't know.
The Corbyn one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jezbollah and
Yeah.
so there's new things springing up.
That
What are
are.
your thoughts, just generally speaking, or on any one in particular?
Well, let's start with Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe's party. I thought it was quite telling that they weren't able to create one party between the two of them. I mean, I think maybe it said something about them
It
as
does.
personalities that they weren't even able to at least create a combined force to be more powerful. And it maybe it's a symptom of, or demonstrates why they initially split from Reform in the first instance. And I won't go into that part of it more than that. And as for the Corbyn and Sultana
That's right.
party, I believe, I think that's a great opportunity for reform. The more it steals from the Labour vote, the better. The more it steals from Labour MPs, the better. Let's see. Perhaps if enough MPs move forward and cross the floor to that party, we may even have a general election earlier than we thought.
Well,
I think
that
it's
would take a lot.
unlikely, but
Yeah.
I think it's something like 148 MPs.
Yeah, that's a huge
I
majority.
believe 24 have actually lost the whip already,
Yeah.
which is an extraordinary number, but still a lot more to go. But certainly for the next election, some of the polling I've seen suggests 8, 9, 10% of the electorate may go to that Corbyn party. That would make a serious dent in Labour because it would probably take about 5% from Labour.
Electorally, completely agree with everything you've said. On the other side, we have seen the rise of sectarian politics with various independent MPs, which are, in my opinion, I'm not going to say all of them because I don't know all of them, but many are horrifying to see in British government. And it's possible that they will find themselves a home and a community in this new Jezbollah. And with collectivism comes power. And that is not a good sign for things to come in the future. Granted, it's not the fact that there's a rise of a party that's doing this. That doesn't really mean that much.
Hmm.
It's the fact that they will get some MPs, I expect, which really makes me quite sad and worried.
It,
But
it is a disappointing trajectory for the nation.
yes,
But if it enables as a serendipitous consequence
yeah,
that reform
our
gets to a
majority.
huge majority, where it can literally push through as quickly as possible. It's day one, week one, month one, year one plans, which it has to do very, very
They are
fast.
well
You
underway,
know,
though. That.
we need those plans in
Mm,
place, and I know they're being worked on. Uh, if it enables us to do that, then we can remedy the future direction of the country more
exactly.
easily.
Solve the problem that has caused it in the first place. Your
Precisely
root
so.
problem. Yes. Okay.
Precisely so.
Very good. Um, so I thought to sign this off, I would ask you two final questions.
Hmm.
So imagine you're on the board. You're going to be sitting at a table, or a few tables, who knows, with two other elected members. There'll be two nominated members. There'll be a party leader, Nigel Farage himself, the big man,
Hmm.
Big Nige.
Yep.
There'll be Richard Tice, deputy leader as well. He's quite tall. Um, let's say there is a conversation or a direction that they want to go on. You're not convinced that it's the right way. Do you have the courage to sit and talk to Nigel Farage himself and say, I think you're wrong, sir?
I have spent my entire career pushing boundaries, pushing limits, creating teams where there weren't any, trying to convince others of the necessity to make change.
Mm,
And I've very much got a reputation as being a change manager, change leader, actually. Let's use that word, leader. Um, uh, One has to be so diplomatic, of course, and it's important to be diplomatic. One has ideas that you want to bring to the table. But ultimately, we need to recognize that if a board, it has to be a collective responsibility at the end of it. So um, what I would do as a board member, I would make my case. I would say, explain why I believe what I believe, and I'm sure my voice would be heard. And again, I'd be speaking for my grassroots experience on that board. Um, but at the end of the day, the decision making has to be done in accordance with our constitutional structure
mhm.
and the constitutional arrangements that are in place. So that collective responsibility must come out of it. But absolutely, not only would I not, it's not just about even having the courage. That is literally my duty to say what I believe needs to be said.
That's this.
You know,
Yes, that's what I needed to check. So, and the final question, of course, is if things go in a way that you don't necessarily agree with, you've been overruled, do you have the good character and humility to put your all into it, even if it was not the direction that you wanted? Or are you going to, like some others have in the past, throw your toys out of the pram and cause a big fuss? You've got to be a team player, right? We are all in this together.
I want to be really clear on one thing. Our country comes first.
There you go. Yeah.
Our country comes first. It's not about personalities. Our country comes first. This party is the only show in town. Reform UK is the only show in town that can save this country. There's no room for throwing toys out of the pram. We have to work together to do this. And of course, there'll be differences of opinion on the board, but that's behind closed doors. What is projected outwards is that collective cabinet responsibility. We stick together. It's the only way forward. It's a big deal being on the board of a major political party that will be in government by 2029.
Very good. Richard, what an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much,
And
Tim.
good luck on the vote.
Thank you very much indeed. I really enjoyed the chat.
Good. Cheers.
Thank you.